Welcome back to the Future Self podcast. Welcome to season 4, episode 10. What is your thoughts on the idea of staying sober from a factor of fear versus a factor of evolution? And I'll just explain that a little bit more clear. I hear so often that consistently reminding yourself of being an alcoholic, I am an alcoholic, my life was shit back then. It was dangerous. It was going bad. That's why I stay sober. That's one way. That's from fear. Evolution is I used to have a bad problem with alcohol, but I respect myself more today. I do what I do today because I want tomorrow's version to be better. It's not the idea of, oh, I'm so scared of that life. That's why I got to remind myself of it every single day. It's fuck, that life sucked and I don't want to live that. I want to live today to make every other day better than what it used to be. What's your thoughts on the difference between the two, or your experience at least?
Definitely number two, because I experienced the first 3 maybe to 6 months of my sobriety living in fear. But it is quite common initially when you first get sober, the fear factor, because there's so much going on and there's so much change. So it's quite common. But there's a lot of people that remain in that fear and they stay in that fear. Um, and look, I'm always one to think, do what works best for you. If you're sober, you're sober. But for me, I didn't want to live every day in fear. I spent my whole life living in fear and then numbing all my emotions, not wanting to feel or express myself. It's the last thing I want to do now. So I want to be able to enjoy my life and not have that hanging over my shoulder and living in fear about, oh, I better watch myself because if that happens, I might drink, or this could happen. What are you going to do? Are you, what tools have you got up your sleeve because it's going to make you want to drink? And I really struggled with that. And I still do struggle with that, hearing that, because I truly believe there are other ways to live, to be sober and not have that fear and struggle that's attached to the fear. See, with fear, a good amount of fears, a small amount of fear is good, but I think that it can also bring you undone if you are constantly having to remind yourself every day of what possibly could go wrong instead of what possibly could go right.
Mm. It really plays into the negative bias of a human because we're protective creatures. It really, really intensely dives into that idea of, no, this is what you are, don't be that. But it's not even necessarily fear being the negative thing, because I agree. I think fear holds its value in its place, and it can be what motivates you or protects you, but it's not even fear, it's a reminder. That's who you are. You said the second one as if there is an option for the second one, but it doesn't seem like that in the culture around alcoholism. It doesn't seem like there is that second option. It only seems like there's the first, yeah?
It seems that way, and it depends on, again, your opinion of alcoholism, if it's a disease, if it's not, what people think about it. Um, if you're going down the disease way, it's a disease of the brain where they say, this is not what I agree with, I'm just
Yeah.
making a statement, that they say that it's the only disease that tells you you don't have it. So even though you know you shouldn't drink, it will tell you to drink. Now, I believe that to a certain degree when you're in the addiction, but when you're out of it, you have a choice. I get to choose today whether I pick up an alcohol beverage or not, and I choose not to. Um,
But you're an alcoholic. No, you don't.
well, I do. Everyone has a choice.
But that's not what seems to be the case in how things are done these days, though.
You hear a lot about that. We do have a choice. We all have choices
Mm.
every single day. And the thing is, you can be sitting through cravings and it all gets too much and you go pick up a drink, that's still a choice to go pick the drink up.
Of course.
People don't like to hear that
Why not?
because it's back on them.
Ownership, yeah.
You've got to take ownership. If I go and decide to have a drink tomorrow, and that's on me. I drove myself there. I went and bought it. I knew what I was doing. But, you know, being in the alcoholic mindset, a lot of the time it can be, well, this happened to me and I'm an alcoholic and that's what alcoholics do. We drink. No, we don't. We don't have to. You choose to.
I was just reflecting on what you were speaking about then, the idea of it's still finger pointing. If you're an alcoholic, it's not your fault if you pick up a drink again, right? Because you're an alcoholic. But in reality, or through the lens of through the lens of ownership, it is your fault. Because there's no scapegoat being something. I honestly don't like the idea of fear and daily reminder being the motive because you relate to so many other things. Imagine being insecure and trying to build confidence. And I woke up every day and told you, you're fucking insecure. Don't do insecure things. Don't be an insecure person. It's like you'd fester on the idea of being insecure. People with food. If you are overweight or you're obese, and I woke up every day and said you're fat, don't eat fat food. Don't make a fat person choice. It's like, at what point do you get to move on from that being who you are? At what point do you get to be someone who respects himself, cares for themselves, and loves himself if I remind you every single day, you're fat and that's all you are? Don't make those decisions because that's who you are. Don't go back to those ways. Don't do those things. You're going back that way. It's like, at what point do you ever get out of the detachment? At what point can you be Jane, who respects herself, loves herself, learnt a really fucking harsh lesson, cares so much for the future? Like, you can't be that, in quotations, if you're reminded every single day, nah, you're Jane the alcoholic. Don't make those choices. Don't do those things.
Yeah, just remember you're an alcoholic. Just remember that.